Topic is Nest of the Next Gen, Coworking Spaces Redefining discussion. For this, I request Ms. Mansi Suta Nair, Director Commercial Advisory and Transactions Civils, panelist Srimati Prerna Sharma ji, IAS, Additional Chief Executive Officer, Invest UP, Mr. Soumya Kumar, Director Sales and Growth, ICC, Ms. Gunjan Bhan, Director and Head of Center of Excellence, Consulting CBRE India, and Mr. Ajay Rakheja, CEO, Real Estate Services, CRE India. Somebody can please arrange a chair also. Director, Commercial Advisory and Transactions Civils. Mansi is a seasoned real estate and workplace advisory professional with over 2 decades of experience across commercial real estate and hospitality. Associated with Civils India, she advises leading corporates and global enterprises on occupier solutions, strategic leasing, and workplace transformation. Known for her client-centric approach, collaborative leadership, and strong relationship management, Mansi is recognized as a trusted advisor in the corporate real estate industry. Welcome, ma'am. एक बार जोरदार तालियां मंच तक पहुंचाएं. Srimati Prerna Sharma, IAS, Additional Chief Executive Officer, Invest UP, the investment promotion and facilitation agency of the government of Uttar Pradesh. A dynamic officer known for her strategic and policy-driven approach, she has been actively contributing towards strengthening investor engagements, ease of doing business, and industrial development initiatives across the state. Through her leadership and proactive facilitation, she continues to play a significant role in positioning Uttar Pradesh as a preferred investment destination in India. Welcome, ma'am. Mr. Soumya Kumar, Director Sales and Growth, ICC. Soumya Kumar is a seasoned business leader with over 20 years of experience in commercial real estate, enterprise sales and business growth strategy. Currently leading sales and growth for North India at ICC, he drives enterprise client acquisition, strategic partnerships, and revenue expansion. He previously co-founded VSKOUT and held leadership roles at JLL India, bringing deep expertise in office leasing, real estate advisory, and scalable business growth solutions. Welcome, sir. Mr. Gunjan Bhanji, Director and Head of Center of Excellence, Consulting CBRE India. Ms. Gunjan Bhan is a Director and Head of Center of Excellence Consulting at JLL India, where she leads strategic consulting and research-driven initiative across the real estate and infrastructure sectors. With extensive experience in advisory, urban development, and market intelligence, she has worked closely with developers, investors, and institutional stakeholders on transformative projects across India. Known for her analytical insights and strategic expertise, she continues to contribute significantly towards shaping future-ready real estate and urban ecosystems. Welcome, ma'am. Mr. Ajay Rakheja, CEO, Real Estate Services at CRE India, and brings extensive experience in real estate advisory, asset management, and business strategy. Over the year, he has worked closely with developers, investors, and institutional stakeholders across the real estate ecosystem, driving growth-oriented and customer-centric solutions. Known for his strategic leadership and industry insights, he continues to contribute significantly towards strengthening the real estate services landscape इन इंडिया. तो मैं चाहूंगी कि एक बार जोरदार तालियां बजाएं, क्योंकि ये महिला शक्ति से सजा हुआ मंच है जिसमें महिलाओं की जो है संख्या ज़्यादा है। सुबह से पहली बार हमें ये मौका और ये खूबसूरती दिखाई दे रही है, तो आपकी खूबसूरत तालियां मंच तक पहुंचनी चाहिए। और डेफिनेटली ये जो डिस्कशन होगा ये बहुत पावर पैक होने वाला है। तो मैं अनुरोध करूंगी हमारी मॉडरेटर मिस मानसी सूता नैयर जी से, एंड टॉपिक है नेक्स्ट ऑफ द नेक्स्ट जेन कोवर्किंग स्पेसेस रीडिफाइंड डिस्कशन।
Thank you so much. First of all, I would want to stand corrected. Ms. Gunjan Bhan represents CBRE instead of JLL. To start this session, I would want to initiate the discussion from Prerna ma'am, because she's the one who would be helping us with the infrastructure that can support co-working. So ma'am, wanted to check that a large share of India's next-gen workforce will be seen as freelancers, solopreneurs, gig workers, and the micro markets. How can Invest UP use co-working spaces as platforms for upskilling, job matching, and entrepreneurship beyond just providing physical space?
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving us this platform to address you all today. The question you mentioned about how Invest UP will come in and address this sector, I would like to tell you that GCC is a very important component of our investment promotion policy. We have a scheme for GCC. I'll give you the outliers, but you can always look it up on our website. But to answer a question, we have seen not only India, the world has seen post-COVID a change in the way the world works. And to miss this opportunity would be the biggest failure. The government of UP is really focused on investing in this sector. We are bullish about it. We also have a lot of scope. We provide with the ecosystem, the talent, the infra. But how, the question is how we will be engaging with that. So see, the government's work is limited to being the enablers and facilitators in this area. We have come up with a very interesting policy. Also, we do understand that there are certain areas, certain pockets like Noida, Greater Noida, which already have seen a lot of interest in this sector. Tier 2 cities like Lucknow, Kanpur, Gorakhpur are being projected, and a lot of companies have shown a lot of interest. The government, through its policies, is working as enablers and facilitators. We have also come up with the policy for infrastructure development of these areas, because we do realize that in certain areas we need that infrastructure to come so that co-working spaces and all models that are possible in this sector can be developed. So recently the UP cabinet came up with a policy, and it was passed recently. It's called the Private Business Park Development Policy. I am not sure how many of you know about it. It is a very interesting policy that we have come up with. It allows for the DBFOT model, and wherein there is the minimum 10-acre area in an industrial development authority. You can bid for it. And it is on a 45-year concession period, which is extendable to another 45. And the government is bringing its land. You have to contribute as a real estate player from the point of view of developing that infrastructure. So I would like you to, through this forum, I'd like you to read that policy, understand it, and come back to us if there are any clarifications. So mainly the government role is of enablers and facilitators in the area. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Gunjan, taking on from where Prerna ma'am left, we as realtors all have seen how co-working spaces have grown, and she did refer to GCCs that it's not a time to miss the boat. how do you define the core value proposition of a co-working space today versus what you saw in 2022?
Firstly, thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here amongst such esteemed panelists. 2022, in fact, before 2022, co-working was extremely transactional. You would see that somebody would take up a co-working space primarily because of the lower cost, the higher lock-ins, and the flexibility. However, in fact, that time the quantum of co-working was also close to a 22 million square feet across the country in about 2021. However, the industry has shaped up and moved up to about 4 to 5 times. We are closely touching 100 million square feet today in co-working. And primary reason for that is people want flexibility. With the enterprise solutions coming in, no more are the discussions on having conventional office leases and office spaces. So I think that's been the major transformation the industry has seen. And I think it's with the onset of GCC, it's just going to continue from here. So upwards from here for sure.
Sure. So Soumya, while Gunjan said that flexibility and co-working spaces do provide that, and that's what is the need of the hour, do you think landlords are equally flexible? And are landlords still seeing co-working as a plug-and-play provider, or are they beginning to treat operators as strategic partners in shaping the future of the work-centric assets?
So good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be part of this panel. And very interesting question, Mansi. So whether whether landlords have adapted fast enough in terms of being strategic partners to the flex industry, I would say. So I'll first give a context. Back to 2010, I'll pick up a stretch of Golf Course Road in Gurgaon. There was just about 20,000 square feet of flex space on that entire stretch. Today, there's close to a 2 million square feet of flex space on that same stretch. So the flex advent has been very fast. It has taken everyone by surprise. In fact, when it came through, there were a lot of question marks whether this industry is here to stay, whether this business model is here to stay. And that's where majority of the developers, they also are very cautious. And when they were leasing out spaces, there was a large dip because of COVID. There was a large impact because of COVID, which is why even till date, I would say the landlord's view towards this industry is very cautious. There's a cautious optimism around this. Everyone is amazed with the growth that the sector has seen, the way it's become mainstream, the way occupiers have put this as a formidable part of their portfolio. Majority of the landlords and more progressive ones, more future-focused ones, are eagerly either taking the co-working or the flex operators as partners, or are creating co-working spaces of their own. So that's the trend which is coming forth. I feel that stabilization is still another 2 or 3 years away, wherein this landlord and flex operator partnership will become absolutely solidified. Yeah.
Thank you. So Ajay, having seen the evolution of how Indian commercial real estate has happened over the last decade for sure, do you believe co-working has now moved from being a cyclical trend to becoming a permanent layer in real estate?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So, what was there, 20 years back, I think we were just the beginning at the flex border. And today, I think wherever you see the flex happening everywhere. So, we started with seats, we started with the leave and license concept, we started with 20 square feet, a size for a seat. That is a size what we were thinking Is this an industry? Are we creating a dormitory setups, or are we creating a space for real office spaces? But this space has really gone and given enterprise, a space which they can never have evolved or even have think of, that this kind of space really makes a sense today. 10 years back, what we saw as Flex is absolutely, I think it's a 10x story which everybody is seeing. Every city, every tier 1 city has seen the growth, and it's still not stopping. Landlords have become I would say the new landlords are the new investors. So it is not the developer business. All landlords wants to get into the business. It has the maximum ROI today when it comes to office space. So this is a cyclic project which I think everybody is trying to put his hands, either a self-grown co-working operator, or they want to have a sign up with the established players.
Good one. So, Gunjan, starting from solopreneurs, SMEs, to corporate teams, and even, remote nationals who are kind of trying to use co-working spaces in some form and shape, especially with hybrid working, which segment do you think is more strategically important, and which one is still undervalued?
Good question. In fact, at least for me, and of course a view coming from what I represent, which is CBRE, I think enterprise continues to be the most important segment. And given the traction in the GCC fraternity, which is expected in the years to come, it's only going to increase from here, because the kind of ecosystem enterprise/managed is able to create, I don't think any other sub-asset class will be able to do. Second part of your question, which is about being undervalued, I think the SME network, which is the mid-scale SMEs, that's completely undervalued. I'll tell you why. When Flex started about 5 years back, the ratio of domestic to international firms used to be 60 to 65% international, taking up in Flex spaces, vis-a-vis about 30-35% in domestic. Today, as we talk about the people who are taking space within the Flex fraternity, it is actually the reverse. More and more domestic firms are taking up Flex in the form of enterprise or in the form of mid-scale and SME. And like ma'am said, that with the onset of a policy which supports private offices and campuses, I think this is only going to go up from here. Yeah.
So Prerna ma'am, what Gunjan said, that it is the domestic use organizations who are kind of getting into this. So a large share of India's next gen workforce will be freelancers, gig workers, what I asked her as well. How can Invest UP use co-working spaces as platforms? So what I mean is, while I understand that you are enablers, what else can the government do, to increase the participation? Because when you talk about larger cities, a lot of developers, like Soumya mentioned, are getting slightly apprehensive, despite understanding that 1/3 of the absorption is happening with this segment because of some bad years during COVID. So is there a policy to support, because majority of these brands are homegrown, so that they kind of expand their presence, especially in tier 2 cities?
I think the way our India has evolved in terms of how these offices were like call centers 15-20 years back, and now they have come to be the real places where the AI and tech and everything is worked out. We do understand that what you're trying to say, that how will we be able to support our generation of entrepreneurs. We have a startup policy for that, which supports this, and UP, as many of you would know it, has the largest number of MSMEs. We are creating centers of excellence for various new age technologies. those centers of excellence would work as focal points of learning and research and development. And we see a lot of work in the future going around there. We are in talks with, not in talks, we have already finalized 2 centers of excellence, one with IIT Roorkee and one with IIT Kanpur on future technologies. And we'll be seeing a lot of this in the future. The government is also planning to work towards investing a lot in testing and research facilities, which will enable the smaller startups or to use these facilities and create an ecosystem of different services in the region. So the policies are not built around the big investors, large investors. We cater to all policies, and we do realize that we have to tap in the MSME base that we have. That only can help UP achieve that dream of the future. Thank you.
In fact, to add to this, very interesting, because when I was going through the GCC policy for UP, what I understood is that as against what our common perception around GCCs is that it's international companies who are setting up captive centers in India. UP GCC policy is all encompassing. It doesn't differentiate between international businesses setting up. Domestic businesses for their captive centers are also classified under GCC, and that I feel is a major boost in terms of furthering Indian entrepreneurs and their business growth. So I think that's a commendable step over here.
Thanks, Soumya, for that. So Ajay, considering that we are talking about new assets being developed, land is available to be acquired for large campuses, if you were to advise a developer to plan a commercial project today, would you tell them to plan for a co-working from day one? Or, what would a future ready building look like in your viewpoint?
A very interesting question. So it's everything, all architects have started thinking these lines before they're presenting any first cut draft to any developer today. I think they have become also learned. All interior fit-outs companies have become learned, and so are any land bankers. So while designing any product today, if it's a standalone, there's a different concept that can go around. If this is a campus, you have to have all integral parts, whether you want to have some part of retail, a service apartment, blend with a office tower. Yes, definitely at 0 day, you should have an incubation space. That should be planned for all, not only for fit-outs for the existing, but eventually bring it back for your, as a brand, to support the building first anchor tenant, which can, bring the absorption level to your building and also increase I would say the output for your entire campus if you have the first product, first mover advantage, either as self or you get an operator. So I think this is a must today for any, I would say on every 5 lakh square feet, you should own a 25-30,000 square feet as co-working, as Mr. Developer, you should have that as a must now.
So Soumya, Ajay answered about the building strategy. When you are building these nests, as we call in today's times, in a managed space, doing space as per the client's preference and choice is doable. But when you do a co-working space, there could be organizations looking for deep focus. There could be organizations having Gen Zs who are looking at more open and collaborative approach to work. And there could be nomads. So how do you bring all of this in one ecosystem?
That's actually a tough one, just like Gen Zs are. So, right. So interesting question. In fact, designing, and as Ajay was just mentioning, designing of buildings have transformed over years. And that is visibly so. I mean, the kind of offices that we are building 20 years back, versus what we are building today, have gone drastic, transformation. That transformation is largely also stemming from the fact that different generations, like, their need of how an office should be has changed. And especially the new generation, like, that is coming in, for them, work is not, like, and this is actually progress. This is what I see as progress, that today the generation, like, that is entering offices, they are seeing this as a workplace, which should also augment their other, like, social needs. It is not just a like, a cut and dry workspace, which is why, like, they are more demanding, which is why we have to create ecosystems which are more engaging. In fact, today, like, when we are designing, and that's one of the larger reasons why at IncuSpace, like, we have kept the design team in-house. In fact, I'll tell you an interesting story. I mean, we initially started building spaces. We saw the need of changing demand of the generation, like, so we got the design team in-house. Today, like, because we have the design team in-house, we have started, like, doing design and build projects for third parties. So that's interesting transformation. But yeah, coming back to the question, I think today the workplace is not just an office. It is much more than that. It has to cater for wellness, has to cater for health. I mean, this generation is very focused on health engagement, social interactions, and that's what we are trying to embody within our spaces. There's a concept of Bel Air, which is a CXO lounge that we have launched, primarily stemming from this design element. I think there's still a lot that we have to do, but we are working in that direction, yeah.
So, Prerna ma'am, Ajay mentioned that, it should be a part of planning to have co-working spaces, 25,000, 30,000 and 500,000 square feet, to be used as incubation. But do you think or foresee that this should become a policy driven by the government in all large IT parks or SEZ parks, for instance?
Even if it's not a policy, it's generally it's practiced like that. When any company, whether big or small, would come and invest in a GCC, firstly they would lease out a very small space, see how the operation works, whether they can get the talent, how's the entire feedback there, and only then they scale their operation. So I don't think so this is a sector where we can have a policy, but our GCC policy per se has very good points which the companies were just thinking about subsidies can come, and initial years we have payroll subsidy. We are also subsidizing your rentals. So I think in the initial 2-3 years when you are setting up and you are exploring the infrastructure, our GCC policy already caters to that. Obviously that policy comes with a threshold value, but when we see the companies investing, the initial years, if they are if through our subsidies they feel comfortable, so I think it makes the entire the initial years of setting up easier, and also they can think long term if they find the place acceptable according to their needs. So I think our policy already caters to that part of setting up an enterprise.
So unlike an IT park where they say 4% or 20% now can be commercial usage, you're saying that this cannot really formally be a policy, but yeah, it stays kind of wishful and a need and depends on the developer who's developing. Okay. So Gunjan, considering that we have a large population which is younger generation, gig workers, Gen Zs, how can co-working spaces become more inclusive rather than just premium cafes for professionals?
Very, very valid question. I think 2 or 3 things any co-working space should, concentrate on. One, of course, is the space efficiency which is along it, and it needn't be always the physical efficiency, but going beyond it and looking at the virtual usage of the space as well. Second is collaboration, and it's interesting, I was reading a survey which CBRE Global had released last year, in which they had asked that, what is your drive to be at work? And no surprises, more than 60% of the people said that our need is collaboration. Work can happen virtually, but we need to come to work so that, we can meet people. And third, of course, was the point mentioned earlier, which has become very important, which is the well-being of employees. We're living in a time where AQI is touching a 4-digit number. So having office spaces which are quality friendly, which look at the well-being of the employees is very important, and that's where you will get those spaces to everybody. Gone are the days where co-working used to be exclusive. Initially 10 years back, I remember in a fantastic central location, you'll have a co-working center and you can buy a seat and sit off it. Now those times are gone. Just anybody and everybody, if you look at the kind of industries which are getting into co-working, there is defense, there is life sciences, there is AI firms of sorts which are looking at spaces. So yeah, they need to move away from being called the so-called premium cafes and be more generic in nature. Yes.
Sure. So Soumya, I jump on to the next question for you. Beyond per seat cost, what do you think would be the alternate streams of revenue for a co-working operator? Gunjan just hinted at virtual offices, but beyond virtual offices, because this has been into existence for 1.5 decades now. So what could be the other alternates?
So other alternates, are typically, you have to build all the alternate revenue streams around the core, service offering, which is the space and collaboration space primarily. In our case, we have come up with a concept called InQ Bites, which is like a full-fledged, cafe services that we run. So food and beverage services, which we are running through and through. There is a CXO lounge that we have launched. We have launched 3 of them, right now, one in Gurgaon, one in Bombay, and one in Bangalore. We plan to roll out 30 of them, in the next 2 years across India. So this again, becomes an alternate revenue stream. Typically, these ancillary streams are more prominent. But then there are smaller streams, you can create a yoga studio of sorts. But these are, I still, feel that ultimately, majority of these ancillary services is something that we would still continue to load on our per seat cost, because these are specific reasons why the workspace should expand and, be beyond office. Yeah.
So Ajay, you being someone who has worked on the corporate side and now you're an entrepreneur, how do you see that the relationship between the developers and flexible workspace operators is evolving over the last 1 decade, I would say? And I would say, if you could throw some light on grade A versus individual landlords, because there's a stark difference between the two.
I would add to Soumya's reply. I think what's happening in the flex space, the next million years, so they're converting that into 24/7 centers. Flex has moved to a very different land, so that's another great revenue which Flex is looking for IT and backend companies, that we are open 24/7, 365 days. So if that becomes trend, the real another 30%, we were seeing that's the current market trend. I think it's would add to another 10% of the conventional office leases that will contract and move to this side. So I think from BPOs and KPOs will start looking into such centers and collaboration spaces. Yes, Manthi. So coming to your question, so A-grade developers and landlords. Landlords, typically, if I see standalone, a 1,000 square meter plot, or 2,000 square meter plot, or a campus which has 2 towers. So they are basically, all have been doing a floor specific leases, or maximum having 2 tenants in 1 floor. Now they are right now completely absorbing that. We are first looking for an anchor tenant, which has to be a co-working, because he brings the maximum managed office setup, and we are more than hungry to first have a flex player who can bring that enterprise day one. along this. So no more speculation at the moment. But yes, with speculation, if they have a definitive client backing up that spaces, I think that's making sense to any landlords, to have that brand names, logos, that yes, I have following companies in my buildings, although it might be under the InQ space, operator, but that gives an individual landlords also an edge. And he's backed up by banks, he's backed up by financial institute, he's over leveraged to get another building. So that's how new landlords also trying to get into. Rather than getting a single operator, he's more keen to know who was going to be the end users or occupiers in your building, and that's giving a value add to new landlords.
So Ajay, while I understand your perspective, but somehow I feel that a lot of developers feel that this is cannibalization of their own tenants if they are incubating in a flex operator within their buildings, and possibly that's the reason why they are wanting to cap the operators not beyond 15-20% in their assets, because it kind of puts their valuation under risk. So how do you kind of handle that, whereas the demand is overshooting and the supply is limited?
Yes, so after the sunset of SEZ, now where is the new supply for Flex? I think that's the new supply that has come up where we go into the campus, so which is heavily driven at Pune and Bangalore and Hyderabad, especially the after sunset. So I think we will have some more players taking up spaces there. But cannibalization, I think, will not make any impact till the time they are limited to one or two operators in the entire campus. I would not like to name any other developer, but definitely large campuses, they should have the limitation of having one operator in one tower. That should be the strategy rather than...
Soumya is not liking your answer.
No, you're not liking it?
So it's very difficult to. If I have a 4 tower, if I have a 3 towers, right, I think I should have 1 tower each as offer, or as per. So this is a clear sort of thought process which we are experiencing when we are engaging with developers. I would divide the market into two halves. One is the institutional part of institutional developers, and the second is people who are builders. I would say they build a single asset or they build asset which is then further sub-sold to investors, right? So that's how the market is sort of shaped up. Now the institutional part of the market, that is that developer fraternity. I mean, for them today, they're seeing flex growth as cannibalization. However, I still continue to feel that it is a more knee-jerk reaction, because again, I mean, there's a certain per square feet rental which they are making. They feel that there's value add that the flex players do on top of it, get a higher margin. However, if I again compare our market to say a more mature market in US, the concept of TI has always been there, where the developers have been doing tenant improvements for occupiers, and that's again comes down to a capex play. It's the capex risk, and the OPEX, services standards that you can maintain. Now, whether you want to be part of that business or not, today occupiers are asking for it. So whether or not you would want to cap it today, you will be forced.
So there's a very different idea. I think Santosh sir is here, who can endorse me for that. Sir, if we build a campus, and although it is a starter sold, and I have a rent roll of 2 large towers with 2 different operators, and I have to sell it as a pre-leased or go into a REIT with 2 different operators, and rest of my entire campus is all conventional lease, will I able to make a better yield? I think then I have an answer for Soumya. It's tough. Then it's going to be tough.
That's how the market, and again, just like stock market and capital markets, are very, very perceptive. I mean, today, the risk is higher because there has been a shock and the flex players were the first ones to sort of fold business. So there is a higher risk assortment to it. Over the next 10 years, we'll see how this industry matures, and then the risk levels would possibly be, or the risk rating possibly might come down.
But we have not seen in NCR or North so far second escalation. Stabilized second escalation.
Correct.
So
correct.
we are still hungry to see what's going to happen after second escalation.
That's true.
Where my depreciation is on zero.
That's true. So, Reena ma'am, I wanted to ask you that, besides doing the policy for startups, besides allocating land for GCC campuses to be built, in cities like Lucknow, which have a very promising future, we see that the economical flex operators are still present, and there are many to kind of compete with each other. What infrastructural changes are we looking at in the city as such to bring about a change and bring grade A operators, the top of the leagues, the luxury ones, into promising cities like Lucknow?
See, we are projecting Lucknow as a major Tier 2 city for growth of this sector. Having said that, many of the people from this sector have never visited Lucknow. They don't know how good the infrastructure is here, how well the connectivity is at this place. It's a very livable city. You have all forms of entertainment. You have good schools, good colleges. You have an infrastructure of not only in terms of physical infrastructure, but good colleges nearby. We have IIT Kanpur, we have IIM Lucknow, we have a lot of STEM graduates from the nearby areas, but a lot of the GCC community and the community does not know about it, and they still have one very archival idea of Lucknow. So our first task is actually to market the city as a GCC city. The only issue that I see is that we are not able to market it well enough. And secondly, it's a chicken and egg problem. You're talking about grade A infrastructure. We have players who want to come, they want grade A infrastructure, and we have developers who say that first they will come and they will see. So that has to start somewhere, and we have a good pipeline of interest in this area, and we've had stakeholder meetings with the builders here, and we have shown them the pipeline, we have shown them the interest that people have here in Lucknow. Also, this is a city with very good AQI.
Absolutely.
As compared to many of the NCR counterparts. So that being said, UP government is also developing the Lucknow area as a special area. There's an AI city coming up in this area, which I think will attract a lot of the investment to the region. So we are working on it, and in terms of infrastructure, I think it's very good. It's in terms of connectivity, it's best. We have a very good airport. We have the expressways. I don't know how many of you know, but UP has more than we have 55% of India's expressways. So the connectivity in UP, not only in Lucknow but all over UP, is really good. And the kind of infrastructure that this enterprise needs, everything is there. It's just that we're trying to solve that problem, and I think with the AI mission being announced by Honorable Chief Minister recently, I think this will take off very soon.
I somehow agree. So I came to Lucknow for the first time, and I kind of realized, and having attended the session since morning, it's quite enlightening to know with the new expressways and connectivity improving, and possibly it's the promotion aspect of the city that needs to be taken care of, and that's how tier 2 cities like Ahmedabad and Pune also kind of picked up, besides the key metros. So Soumya, besides the conventional leasing model, what are the other ways that you kind of build partnerships with the developers or the landlords to be sharing the risks. And there's always a risk. There is West Asia war right now, there was COVID times, and we've seen that from an uphill to a downhill, for flex. And since we say it is flex, it's very easy for people to kind of move out, unlike a conventional lease. And it does impact the operators irrespective of the level. So what are the alternate ways of partnerships that you are, doing with the developers or the landlords?
So interesting because risk. We actually feel that we are in two businesses. One is risk bearing, and the second is the services business, which we are creating for occupiers. Now risk bearing is as important because our margins are very very thin. We take a large sort of capex position when we are building up spaces. We take up a 5-year sort of amount. That said. That's the reason why conventional leases are always very risky. Whenever we go ahead and sign a conventional lease with a developer with a mandate to sort of lease it in a certain period of time, which is why you get the chatter of back-to-back transactions being the preferred way of transaction. What we do differently at IncuSpace is that we have started pairing out our risks by taking up a campus level position. So this is something which we internally sort of have learned over years, that don't take a 1 floor or a 2 floor sort of risk with the landlord, because when you take a building level position at an early on stage, something that we have done with Octavia, which is coming up on Shaheed Park, just behind Lulu Mall. We've taken up a position of 2.5 lakh square feet at a much early stage in the building. Now that's when you can talk about being real partners and real risk bearing, wherein it's not a conventional lease model. Whether these geopolitical shocks, how will that play out, is a shock that both us as well as the developer will tide out together. So that campus level association at an early stage, that is how we try and do our partnerships and risk bearing. Yeah.
Sure. So Gunjan, wanted to check, could co-working platforms become the operating system for hybrid working, tracking not just the productivity, collaboration and well-being? And if so, what are the ethical and privacy boundaries that you see in there?
So I think the whole premise of a flex space was this, right? Having flexibility, making sure that these are becoming platforms and operating systems of sorts. I think what we all need to watch out is the governance angle of it, which I think Prerna ma'am spoke about very appropriately, that where to tie in those dots where you finish the line of a flex and you start the line for a convention space. So yeah, I think that's what we need to watch out for, but I think they're ready. All flex spaces are essentially there for the flexibility aspect of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's all from our side, and thank you so much panelists for being very kind and giving us the right information. Any questions?
मेरा जो क्वेश्चन है वो प्रेरणा जी से है कि काफ़ी साल हो गए और यहाँ पे अच्छी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस भी हैं, उसके बावजूद भी यहाँ आईटी कंपनीज सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो पा रही हैं। मुझे याद है कि लगभग 20 वर्ष पहले हमने साइबर टावर बनाना शुरू किया था कि वहाँ पे आईटी कंपनीज आएंगी और एक ही जगह इकट्ठा होंगी, लेकिन बहुत कम लोग ने उसमें इंटरेस्ट लिया। उसके बाद हमने साइबर हाइट्स भी बनाई, लेकिन अभी तो चलिए सौम्य कुमार जी बता रहे हैं हमारा ऑक्टेविया बन रहा है लुलु मॉल के पीछे, तो ले रहे हैं, लेकिन व्हाट इज़ द रीज़न? इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी बहुत अच्छा हो गया है, नोएडा वगैरह में आ जाती हैं और गुड़गांव में तो काफ़ी कंपनीज हैं और बेंगलोर साइड में है, व्हाई नॉट लखनऊ? व्हाट्स द रीज़न? हैव वी गॉन इनटू दैट?
Yes, we have certainly gone into that, and हम भी उस चीज़ को solve करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. जैसा मैंने बताया आपको, इट्स अ चिकन एंड एग प्रॉब्लम। बिल्डर्स बोल रहे हैं कि पहले कंपनीज आएंगी तब हम ग्रेड ए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट करेंगे, और कंपनीज जो आना चाहती हैं वो बोल रही है पहले हमें इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर दिखाओ। अभी IMOB एक बहुत बड़ी कंपनी है, उनका इंटरेस्ट था वहाँ पे यहाँ पे, एंड दे आर ऑल्सो सेटिंग अप ऑफिसेज इन लखनऊ, एंड दे शेयर्ड विद अस कि व्हेन दे डिसाइडेड एंड दे डिस्कस इट विद द टीम, तो they got a lot of feedback from players in other companies also wanted to come back to Lucknow. So there is a lot of interest. लोग जो लखनऊ के लोग हैं या आसपास के लोग हैं, they want to come back. And not only I would say कि entry level people, middle and senior level people also want to come back and work. तो ये एक प्रॉब्लम है जिसको हम सॉल्व करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। जो हमारी पॉलिसी है, जैसा कि मैंने बताया कि हमारी पॉलिसी आपके केपेक्स ओपेक्स दोनों को सब्सिडाइज करती है, एंड वी डू रियलाइज़ कि GCCs में केपेक्स कई बार बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं होता है एंड ओपेक्स इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। तो इफ़ यू बेंचमार्क अ पॉलिसी अगेंस्ट द बेस्ट ऑफ द स्टेट्स इन इंडिया, यू वुड फाइंड कि यूपी बेस्ट पॉलिसी अभी प्रोवाइड कर रहा है। तो we are reaching out to these companies and they are showing that interest, and some of the companies जो यहाँ पे आ रही हैं फर्स्ट टाइम, वो बोल रही है कि हमें पता नहीं है कि लखनऊ is such a nice city to work in, and it is much better than any of the tier 2 cities also. Like if you compare us to any of the tier 2 cities, we are much ahead of them. We have very good infrastructure. जो वो प्रॉब्लम है कि यहाँ इकोसिस्टम में यहाँ पे सब कुछ है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, टैलेंट है, बिल्डिंग्स भी आ रही हैं, इट इज़ जस्ट अ मैटर ऑफ टाइम कि अब ये चीज़ें यहाँ पे शिफ्ट होने वाली है। तो we'll have to हम वो तो यूपी को हमें प्रमोट करने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है। इट इज़ समथिंग दैट एवरीवन टॉक्स अबाउट। देखिए वो जो शिफ्ट आया है कि उसी की वजह से तो हम ये सब जितना भी इन्वेस्टमेंट ला पा रहे हैं उसी की वजह से ला पा रहे हैं। तो दैट इज समथिंग वी डू नॉट इवन हैव टू से। या
Any other question in the house?
Yes, there's a question coming in from another flex operator.
Hi everyone, my name is Malay Krishna and I am working for Urban World. So as Mansi mentioned about Generation Z, and Soumya mentioned about extra things that we are providing to the clients such as yoga center. You mentioned about yoga center. So my question for the panel is, do you strongly believe that there is a transition in co-working where this co-working is leading towards hospitality-led industry? Can we align on that thing?
Would any of you want to take, or you? Okay. So definitely there is a concept of Ofitels that Corporate Edge has kind of launched. So it is an amalgamation of real estate and hospitality, undoubtedly. So you see from building gymnasiums to yoga center to sound healing spaces, and you talk about it, people are just becoming innovative and they're serving clients just the way you would be taken care of in a hotel from the service perspective. Many flex operators are providing you a range of teas and coffees to choose from. I mean, in earlier days, if you ask, that was really not the concept. So it definitely is amalgamating into hospitality industry.
I like to add to it. इस meeting से पहले I was in a before this panel I was in a meeting where we were having a stakeholder public consultation with people, builders, architects. UP is coming up with the unified industrial bylaws for all development authorities. तो उसमें एक पॉइंट था जिसमें the industrial bylaws जो हमने अभी which were open for public comments, तो उसमें mixed land use in institutional areas जहाँ पे short term stays और long term stays को लेके discussion था, and many of the developers were keen कि हम allow करें कि जो short term stays हैं हम उनको long term stays में convert कर सकें और उस लैंड यूज़ को भी आप लोगों के लिए कैपिटलाइज कर सकें। तो आई थिंक दैट इंटरेस्ट इन हॉस्पिटैलिटी in this sector is very high, and for government I would say it is aspirational, but I think that interest is there, and that is also the entire economics of it works, you know, matlab, otherwise how it would be. So UP at this point is very open to all ideas, all viewpoints from all stakeholders, and we are currently, expanding our horizons, improving our policies, not only in terms of, our subsidies policies, but also in our regulatory frameworks, our building bylaws. We are trying to understand your interest, intent. How do you want to, step in your capital, and how the government can support it. Thank you.
Any other questions?
So one more question from the gentleman.
Hi ma'am, my name is Ankit. My question is with Prerna ma'am. तो मैम पिछले 4 साल का डेटा मैंने यूपी रेरा का स्टडी किया, एंड देयर वाज वन वेरी सिग्निफिकेंट थिंग विच आई फाउंड. आपने अभी कम्युनिकेशन की बात की अबाउट लखनऊ एंड द अपॉर्चुनिटीज दैट इन्वेस्ट यूपी और आवास विकास. अभी बहुत सारा डेटा उस पर आने लगा है. आई बीन टू वेबसाइट कपल ऑफ टाइम्स. तो मैम 4 साल पहले लखनऊ डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी का टोटल मार्केट में कंट्रीब्यूशन वाज रफली अराउंड 0.5% इन टर्म्स ऑफ सप्लाई. लास्ट ईयर लखनऊ ऑन एवरेज हैज एन सप्लाई ऑफ, अगर ईयरली बेसिस पे देखेंगे, इज रफली अराउंड 7,000-8,000 यूनिट्स इन एन ईयर. Last year it was 15,600 unit, and the contribution of LDA rose from 0.25% to roughly 36-40%. Now LDA also diluted tons of their product, जो रियल एस्टेट में थे, इनके जो स्टॉक थे, सब कुछ थे. एंड द कोर रीजन आई फेल्ट, आई एम ऑल्सो अ स्मॉल इन्फ्लुएंसर इन लखनऊ इन टर्म्स ऑफ रियल एस्टेट. तो व्हाट आई फाउंड सिग्निफिकेंट ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन इज कि वो उन्होंने एलडीए ने पिछले 1 साल में अपना कम्युनिकेशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज जो उनके पास है वो बहुत ओपन कर लिया. निर्मला हो, उनके पुराने अपार्टमेंट थे जो नहीं बिक रहे थे, उन पे स्कीम FCS जो स्कीम आई थी वो सारी करके FCS, तो वो स्कीम आई हुई थी. मेरे को लगता है कि मैम आज अगर मेरे को एज एन इन्वेस्ट यूपी में, इफ आई हैव समवन टू रीच आउट, मतलब अगर मेरे पास कोई है who wants to do something, who wants to put up a business or a center in Lucknow, or wants to work with this whole ecosystem, so it is very tough to reach out, and B, मेरे को उसकी सारी नॉलेज ही नहीं मिल पाती. मतलब सोचिए मैं एक रियल एस्टेट कंसल्टेंट भी हूँ, इन्फ्लुएंसर भी हूँ, और आई एम कीन ऑन डेटा. आई वर्क विद MNCs, आई नो हाउ डेटा इज टू बी फ्रेम्ड एंड समझ में आना चाहिए. तो मैं इतना ईगर होने के बाद अगर मैं नहीं निकाल पा रहा हूँ, तो सोचिए मैम ये जो नॉर्मल लोग हैं उनके लिए कितना टफ होगा.
आई लाइक टू क्लैरिफाई. देखिए, रियल एस्टेट अदरवाइज इज़ अ नेगेटिव सेक्टर फॉर इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रमोशन, बिकॉज रियल एस्टेट में हमें वैसे ही बहुत इंटरेस्ट मिलता है. तो यूपी करंटली हमारा जो ऑफिस है इन्वेस्ट यूपी का, आप यू ड्रॉप इन अ मेल, यू श्योरली गेट अ रिप्लाई. यू आर द फर्स्ट वन आई एम हियरिंग जो बोल रहा है कि यू आर नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड. देखिए, इन्वेस्ट यूपी जो हमारा ऑफिस है, वी रन मेजरली 6 पॉलिसीज़ जो विच रन बियॉन्ड द थ्रेशोल्ड वैल्यू, कि उसमें इतना 100-150 करोड़ का आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट होगा, उसके बाद हम उसमें काम करना शुरू करते हैं. वी हैव 33+ सेक्टोरल पॉलिसीज़ जो डिपार्टमेंट्स रन करते हैं. तो इफ़ यू कम टू अस एंड आप हमारी पॉलिसी में आच्छादित नहीं होते, तो वी डायरेक्ट यू देयर. सो लोगों को आई थिंक दिस कन्फ्यूजन है कि वी रन ऑल द पॉलिसीज़. वी डू नॉट. वो हमारे जैसे फूड प्रोसेसिंग पॉलिसी है, उसे फूड प्रोसेसिंग डिपार्टमेंट रन करता है. IT एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स पॉलिसी, उसे IT डिपार्टमेंट रन करता है. हमारी 6 अम्ब्रेला पॉलिसीज़ हैं जो इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रमोशन एक थ्रेशोल्ड वैल्यू के ऊपर ही एड्रेस करती है. बट वी केटर टू एवरीवन. अगर कोई हमारे ऑफिस में आता है एंड ही हैज़ सर्टेन इंटरेस्ट कि हमें इस एरिया में काम करना है और वो हमारे थ्रेशोल्ड में नहीं आ रहा है, तो वी ऑब्वियसली डायरेक्ट दैट पॉलिसी. कि वो टूरिज़्म की पॉलिसी है तो वो टूरिज़्म हम डायरेक्ट कर देते हैं. बट योर सजेशन इज टेकन. वी विल ट्राई टू बी मोर ओपन
कम्युनिकेशन.
हाँ, वी विल.
हमारे ऐसे लोगों को समझ में आ पाए कि हम क्या कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं.
हाँ, श्योरली. ओके.
Ma'am, here I would like to add on behalf of Invest UP. Ankit, I happen to know you. Though he was very humble enough to introduce, he is a small influencer, which he is not. I happen to know him, he is one of the biggest real estate influencers. But Ankit, जो प्रेरणा मैम ने एक बात बोली, because I have been representing government and I have been representing industry. I am a dialogue between the two. She very rightly said, जितना promotion Invest UP कर रही है pan India, trust me, no investment department across India. I want a huge round of applause. This is not because I am known to Invest UP, to Prerna ma'am or to Vijay Kiran Anand sir. ये fact है, the kind of promotion, the kind of branding, the kind of social media trending which Invest UP is doing under the dynamic leader of Vijay sir, Prerna ma'am. अभी बॉम्बे में ये लोग co-working space पे सबमिट कर आए. I get them, they keep traveling. She traveled all the way to Hyderabad. Social media का जमाना है. Since you are yourself an Instagram influencer, रील आप बनाते हैं, पोस्ट करते हैं. इन्वेस्ट यूपी के बारे में तो उल्टा बहुत फेमस है इंडिया में कि इनको पूछने की कुछ जरूरत ही नहीं है. ये लोग इतना ओपन है सोशल मीडिया पे, इतना ओपन इनका फ्रेंडली एनवायरनमेंट है ऑफिस में, पिकअप भवन में. एनी नॉर्मल मिडिल क्लास आदमी कैन गो एंड नॉक द डोर एंड सीक द असिस्टेंस एंड सीक देयर क्वेरीज. सो देयर आई रियली कॉम्प्लीमेंट, नॉट बिकॉज आई एम रिप्रेजेंटिंग एनरॉक और द चेंबर ऑफ कॉमर्स, बट चूंकि मैंने मैम ही हैज बीन अ ग्रेट इन्फ्लुएंसर, नो डाउट अबाउट इट, ही हैज अर्न्ड अ गुड नेम. तो ये हम्बल थे अपनी तारीफ करने में कि मैं छोटा इंसान हूँ. बट अंकित, हियर आई वुड स्टैंड बाय हर कि इन्वेस्ट यूपी ने जितनी ब्रांडिंग करी है, शायद ही किसी डिपार्टमेंट ने इन माय टेन्योर of spending 30 years in the field of media and digital PR, any other department would have done. This is panelists, I am saying it with humbleness. The credit goes to the lady sitting right there in the center. बहुत इन लोगों ने किया है. तो मतलब this is something incredible into that case. Thank you ma'am. I couldn't stop myself because of course representing Invest UP part in the event organizer capacity, and ठीक है, उसका भी अपना एक democratic right था क्वेश्चन पुट अप करने का, but he is doing a phenomenal job in the field of real estate influencing. Thank you.
थोड़ा इंटरेस्ट ले. थैंक यू.
On behalf of the entire panel, I would like to thank the audience for bringing up such insightful perspectives. Thank you very much and wishing you a great evening.
Thank you so much, dear panel. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Santosh Kumar ji, Vice Chairman NROC, to please come on the stage and felicitate our respected eminent speakers, panelists and moderator. Moderator of this panel discussion, Ms. Mansi Sutan Nayyar ji. आप सभी की तालियां होनी चाहिए. लास्ट सेशन का लास्ट सीन है, तो एक बार जोरदार तालियां बजा दीजिए. पैनलिस्ट श्रीमती प्रेरणा शर्मा जी, IAS एडिशनल चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर इन्वेस्ट यूपी. आप सभी की जोरदार तालियां अपेक्षित हैं. Mr. Soumya Kumar, Director, Sales and Growth, Incaspace. Ms. Gunjan Bhanji, Director and Head of Center of Excellence Consulting, CBRE India. And Mr. Ajay Rakheja ji, CEO Real Estate Services, CRE India.